Hey Reddit, throwaway account here. This is going to be a long one, but I need to get it off my chest. My wife and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. I'll call her Lena. On the surface, everything looked great. We had a nice house, good jobs, 2 dogs, no kids, by choice. We used to be that couple that our friends said had it all together. But I guess the thing about facades is, they eventually crack. About 4 months ago, something shifted. Lena got distant. At first, I chalked it up to work stress. She was promoted to a project manager position and started working late a lot more often. She was glued to her phone, always smiling at texts she wouldn't show me, locking it when she left the room. When I asked about it, she'd roll her eyes and say I was being insecure. She started wearing perfume again. And not just going out perfume, I'm talking spritzing it before heading to the office at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I trusted her. We had our arguments, sure, lately more than usual, but I never thought she'd do something like this. Then one night, around 2 a.m., I woke up and realized she wasn't in bed. I got up and found her in the kitchen, on the phone, whispering. She quickly hung up when she saw me and acted like I was crazy for asking who it was. It was just Madison, she said. Madison is her friend. Madison is also pregnant and has been in bed by 9 p.m. for the last 5 months. That's when something in my gut told me, something was very wrong. I didn't say anything that night. I just watched. Listened. Took mental notes. And that's when the real story began. The next few days, I started paying more attention. She changed her phone password, again. That's the 3rd time in 2 weeks. She used to leave her phone on the couch, plugged in, volume up. Now it's always face down, locked, and practically welded to her hand. One day, she left for yoga and said she'd be back by 8. I got this weird feeling, one of those instincts you don't want to have but can't ignore. So I checked our shared Uber account. We rarely use it, but the account's still active. There it was, 2 recent trips she never mentioned. One dropped her off at a hotel downtown. The other picked her up 2 hours later. The times matched up with when she said she was at the gym the night before. I took screenshots. My hands were shaking. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I asked, "Hey, how was yoga last night?" She didn't miss a beat. Good. We tried hot yoga. Sweaty but fun. She smiled. Lied straight to my face. I smiled back. Later that week, I accidentally left my Apple Watch on while she was texting. It vibrated and previewed the message from someone saved as Ben D. The text? "I can't stop thinking about last night. I still smell you on me." I damn near dropped the plate I was holding. Ben D was not in her contacts a month ago. I know because we shared our iCloud accounts briefly and I had access to her contact list for calendar planning. So now I had suspicious Uber rides. A lie about yoga. A late-night text from someone I've never heard of, practically confessing to something physical. I wish I could say I stormed in, demanded the truth, and got closure. But I didn't. I froze. For the rest of that evening, I was numb. I went through the motions, dinner, dishes, pretending to laugh at whatever show she put on, while my insides were on fire. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling thinking, what if she's been doing this for months? What else don't I know? But I knew one thing for sure. The confrontation was coming. I finally confronted her. Well, halfway. We were having breakfast that Saturday. She was scrolling through her phone like always, barely touching her food. I set my fork down and said, "Hey, who's Ben D?" She didn't even flinch. "Huh? Oh, he's just someone from work. One of the new guys." "Why?" I stared at her for a second. "He sent you a text the other night. About smelling you?" That's when her face changed. Not guilt. Not shame. Annoyance. Like I was the one bothering her with something trivial. She let out this dramatic sigh and rolled her eyes. "Jesus, you're being so dramatic. It was a joke. He's gay, we'd joke around like that." I'm not proud of it, but I actually started doubting myself for a second. Maybe I misread the message? Maybe it was some weird joke? But then I asked, "So why was your Uber going to the Hilton 2 nights ago? Around the same time you said you were doing hot yoga?" She froze. That was it. That was the crack in her armor. Then she snapped. "Are you seriously tracking me now? Is that what this is? You're spying on me? What the hell is wrong with you?" Classic deflection. No explanation. No denial. Just pure rage that I had dared to question her. I stayed calm. Said, "I'm not spying. We still share an account, remember? You never disconnected it. And I haven't said a word until now." She stormed out of the kitchen, slammed the bedroom door, and didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made pancakes, kissed me on the cheek, called me babe. Like the entire argument had been erased. No apology. No explanation. Just gaslighting. That's when it hit me, she didn't care that she got caught. She only cared about controlling the narrative. It was like I wasn't her husband anymore. Just some idiot she was trying to keep fooled. But I wasn't going to be the fool this time. The mask was slipping, and I was going to see what was underneath. A week after the confrontation, she slipped up. Lena had a dentist appointment and ran out the door late, like usual, yelling about how she couldn't find her AirPods. In the chaos, she forgot her purse on the kitchen counter. Now listen, I'm not proud of what I did next. But at this point, trust was dead. I wasn't snooping for fun. I needed the truth. I opened the purse. First, I checked the side pocket where she usually keeps her chapstick. Instead, I found a hotel keycard. No label. Just a plain black strip with a tiny embossed Hilton executive logo. I just stared at it for a solid minute. That wasn't from weeks ago. The card looked new. Crisp edges. It still had that clean, plasticky smell. I checked the receipt pocket next. There were 2 crumpled receipts. One was from a fancy sushi place downtown, dated just 3 nights ago. 2 entrees. 2 drinks. Tip, 25%. Paid with her personal card. She told me she worked late that night. She came home with a bag of McDonald's fries, claiming the vending machine was down and she hadn't had time for dinner. The second receipt was the one that really hit me. It was a minibar charge. From the same Hilton. 2 bottled waters. 1 small champagne. And a pair of condoms. Condoms. We haven't used those in years. I stood there, just holding that receipt, feeling like my stomach had been replaced with lead. I wasn't even angry. I was just empty. She got home a few hours later, cheerful, chatting about how the dentist numbed half her face. I didn't say anything. I watched her dig around for her purse, pick it up, kiss me on the head. She had no idea I knew. I went to the guest room that night. Told her I had a migraine. She mumbled something and went back to TikTok. That's when I started planning my exit. Not just from the marriage, from the whole illusion. Because now I knew for sure, Lena wasn't confused, or lost, or emotionally distant. She was just cheating. Repeatedly. Boldly. And worst of all, shamelessly. And I was done waiting for her to stop. After I found the hotel keycard and the condom receipt, something in me just switched. No more denial. No more excuses. No more waiting. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry in front of her. I was going to document everything, quietly, calmly, surgically. So I started collecting evidence. First, I took photos of everything: the keycard, the receipts, the Uber trips, even the text notification from Ben D. I created a private Google Drive folder and uploaded it all. I even started keeping a journal, time-stamped, logging every suspicious behavior, every lie she told. I ordered a $30 voice-activated recorder from Amazon and hid it under the passenger seat of her car. I also reactivated an old iPhone I had lying around, installed a tracking app, linked to our shared family iCloud, which she forgot she was still on, and slipped it into her gym bag. Within a week, I had everything. She went to spin class on a Thursday night and ended up at the same Hilton. The tracker showed she was there for 3.5 hours. The voice recorder in the car picked up a call afterward. I listened to it, heart pounding. It was her and Ben D. And he wasn't gay. He was laughing about the sushi place. He called her baby. He said something about next time we'll try the jacuzzi suite, she said, and I quote, "God, I wish I could just stay there with you and not go back to the boring house." That boring house was mine. Was ours. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just sat there, listening to my wife talk to another man like I didn't even exist. It was the first time I cried. Not just from betrayal, but from humiliation. She didn't just cheat. She downgraded me into a side character in her fantasy. But now I had what I needed. Not just emotionally, legally. The next step wasn't revenge. It was extraction. I called a lawyer the next morning. The lawyer I called came recommended by a friend who went through a messy divorce last year. I explained everything. Gave her the evidence. The recordings, the receipts, the GPS logs, all of it. She was impressed, honestly. Said most people come in half blind, but I had practically done her job for her. She told me to keep quiet, keep gathering, and most importantly, don't confront her again. Not until everything was ready. So that's what I did. On the surface, I played the role. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I asked her how her workouts were going. She even started being nicer to me, probably because she thought she had me completely fooled. Or maybe guilt was finally tapping her on the shoulder. Who knows? One night, she even initiated sex. First time in over a month. I wanted to vomit. But I went along with it. I'm not proud of that either. It felt like letting a stranger borrow my skin. During that same week, I noticed something else. Her lies were getting lazy. Sloppy. She came home saying she'd been in a long meeting. Her hair was wet. I asked why. She said it rained. It didn't rain. She said she was going to see her sister that Saturday. I knew her sister was on vacation in Miami. I follow her on Instagram. Lena either forgot or didn't think I'd notice. That's how confident she was. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. Said it made her finger itchy. It's made of platinum. We had it resized 2 years ago. Every night, I updated my folder. Every lie, every inconsistency, every red flag. It became my obsession. But I wasn't preparing for a courtroom brawl. I wasn't after money. We didn't even have kids, thank God. What I wanted was something else. To see her face when the truth hit her like a train. So I planned it. The timing. The place. The reveal. I wasn't just going to tell her I knew. I was going to let her show me. Because if she wanted to lie to me again, I wanted her to do it while staring into my eyes. I picked Friday night. I told her I made reservations at her favorite Italian place, the one we hadn't gone to in months. I said I wanted to reconnect, get us back on track. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, said, "Aw, babe, that's really sweet." She had no idea. What I didn't tell her was that earlier that day, I had set up a small hidden camera in our living room, the kind disguised as a picture frame. Right by the entrance, angled at the front door and the couch. Just in case she decided to invite her coworker over while I was conveniently out. But I wasn't going to the restaurant. I faked the reservation. Even made sure the restaurant sent me a confirmation email to show her. Then around 6:30 p.m., I told her I'd head over first to check in, and she should come around 7. She said she was going to change real quick and grab a drink with Madison before dinner. Spoiler, Madison was still pregnant. Still in a different city visiting her mom. I left the house, parked a block away, and waited. At 6:50 p.m., a black BMW pulled into our driveway. I recognized it from the recordings. Bendy. He walked up to our door like he owned the place. They didn't even hesitate. She opened the door in a tight dress, full makeup, hair done like she was going to prom. They kissed in the doorway. I was watching the live stream from the hidden camera on my phone, heart racing, hands ice cold. They sat on the couch. Wine poured. Laughing. Talking. Then it happened. She said, "He thinks I'm meeting him at Pietro's at 7. Isn't that cute? He still believes everything." Ben laughed. "You're savage." She shrugged and said, "I'll be home by 10. He won't ask. He never does anymore." That's when I snapped. I drove back. Parked right in front of our house. Walked up. Didn't knock. I unlocked the door and stepped inside like I lived there, because I do. Ben froze. Lena's face drained of color. I looked at both of them, calmly, and said, "Hope you two saved me some wine." They both looked like deer in headlights. Ben stood up like he wasn't sure whether to bolt or apologize. Lena just sat there, gripping her wine glass like it could shield her from reality. I walked in calmly and closed the door behind me. "No need to rush," I said. "I've got time." Ben muttered something like, "Dude, I didn't know." I cut him off. "Don't bother. I know exactly who you are. Bendy. Right? The guy who can't stop smelling my wife?" His mouth clamped shut. Lena jumped in, voice high-pitched and fake sweet. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Really? Because it looks exactly like what it is." She stood up then, glass still in hand. "You ambushed me? Are you spying on me now? What the hell is wrong with you?" That was her move, go on the offense. Twist the script. Pretend she was the victim. I pulled out my phone. Hit play on her recording. Her voice filled the room. He thinks I'm meeting him at Pietro's at 7. Isn't that cute? He still believes everything. Ben sat back down slowly. Lena's face twisted into this mix of guilt and anger. That's illegal. Recording me without consent. In this state? I cut her off. One-party consent. You'd know that if you ever listened to anything I said. She tried a new angle. Tears. It didn't mean anything. I was lonely. You stopped paying attention to me. We stopped connecting. I just needed something. Something? I said. Like champagne and hotel suites? Her voice cracked. Please don't do this. We can talk. I messed up, okay? But we can fix this. I looked at her for a long second. Then at Ben. I already talked to a lawyer, I said. I have everything I need. The receipts, the GPS, the texts, even the video footage from tonight. Ben stood up again. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I said. That'd be best. He left without another word. Lena turned to me, shaking now. You don't have to do this. I said, calmly. You did this? I'm just finally done pretending it didn't happen. And I walked upstairs. For the first time in months, I felt clear. The next morning, she acted like it never happened. I woke up in the guest room to the smell of coffee and eggs. She was in the kitchen humming, like she hadn't had her boyfriend on our couch 12 hours earlier. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, watching her flip pancakes like a scene out of some twisted sitcom. She noticed me and smiled. Smiled. Morning, she said, like she was trying to pretend we were in some wholesome Sunday morning montage. I didn't answer. She brought me a plate like that was going to fix it. I know last night was intense. But I really think we should talk. I had a long think after you went upstairs. I cut her off. I'm filing on Monday. Her face froze. Pancake flipper in midair. What? I said I'm filing. Divorce. Monday. You'll be served by midweek. She laughed. Actually laughed. No you're not. Stop being dramatic. I looked her dead in the eyes. This isn't a movie, Lena. I'm not the guy who forgets everything after one teary speech. You lied. Over and over. You cheated. You brought him into our house. Onto our couch. And then you looked me in the face and made me feel crazy for months. We're done. The mask cracked right there. She dropped the act. Oh, give me a break. You were barely even a husband. You spent more time tracking my location than trying to fix us. I didn't take the bait. I picked up my coffee. Already moved half my savings. Already have a place lined up. You'll be served soon. Let your lawyer talk to mine. She stormed off, muttering something about me throwing everything away. I didn't follow her. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to fix it. The woman I married doesn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. And honestly? It felt like I'd finally stopped drowning. I moved out that Friday. My brother and two close friends helped. We showed up at 8 a.m. sharp with boxes, bins, and a rented van. I gave Lena a heads up the night before. Told her I'd be gone by noon and preferred if she wasn't home. Naturally, she was sitting on the couch when we arrived. Arms crossed, face stone cold. She didn't say a word as we packed. Just stared. Like a ghost haunting her own house. She only spoke once, when I grabbed a framed photo of us from the hallway. "Why are you taking that?" she said. I paused. "Because I want to remember how stupid I was." My brother chuckled. She didn't. We loaded everything, clothes, my tools, my guitars, the bookcase I built in our second year of marriage. I left her the TV, the couch, the air fryer, not out of kindness, but because I didn't want reminders. At 11:55 a.m., with the van packed, I did one last walkthrough. She followed me from room to room like a shadow. When we reached the front door, she finally snapped. "So that's it? 8 years and you're just walking away?" I turned to her. "No, Lena. You walked away. I just finally realized it." And then came her final move. Tears. She grabbed my arm, tried to hug me. "Please. I'm sorry. I'll go to therapy. I'll block him. I'll do anything. Don't give up on us." It would have broken me 2 months ago. Now? It was just noise. I gently pushed her arms away. You weren't sorry when you were at the Hilton. You weren't sorry when you looked me in the eye and lied. You're only sorry now because I'm leaving." She cried harder. Said she never meant to hurt me, said I was the best man she ever had. Maybe that's true. But sometimes love isn't enough when there's no respect left. I got in the van. Closed the door. Watched her shrink in the rearview mirror. And just like that, the chapter ended. No screaming. No fight. Just a hollow house and a man finally choosing peace. The first few days after moving out were surreal. I wasn't expecting to feel relief and heartbreak at the same time, but that's exactly what hit me. I spent the first night in my brother's spare room, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything over and over. How did I miss the signs? The lies? The late nights? The hidden texts? Friends reached out, some shocked, others angry on my behalf. But the hardest part wasn't what anyone else said. It was facing the fact that the person I trusted most in the world had been lying, sneaking around, and mocking me in her head while I was trying to hold it all together. I went through the evidence again, the texts, the receipts, the recordings. It was like reading someone else's life. Not mine. Every message from Ben was a punch to the gut. I didn't want to be that guy who lost himself in bitterness. But man, it was hard. I cried a few times. Usually when I was alone, driving, showering, or just staring out the window. I caught myself going through the what-ifs. What if I was a better husband? More attentive? Less jealous? More fun? But deep down, I knew it wasn't on me. I started therapy. Just to talk. To make sense of the mess. I realized something important. Sometimes, people aren't who we think they are. Sometimes, the hardest thing isn't catching the betrayal. It's learning to forgive yourself for trusting someone who didn't deserve it. So here I am. Broken but rebuilding. Hurt but hopeful. And ready to move on. After a couple of weeks, I started to notice small things changing, inside me, mostly. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. I stopped replaying the past. I got back into running, something I hadn't done since college. The fresh air, the rhythm, it helped clear my head. I reconnected with friends I'd pushed aside over the years, the guys who actually cared without judging or gossiping. Work became a distraction, but a good one. I took on projects I was passionate about and started thinking about my future again, a future without her. Therapy helped too. Not just to vent, but to unpack what happened and why. One of the biggest things I learned was about boundaries. About knowing when to say no, to lies, to manipulation, and most importantly, to self-doubt. I realized I'd spent so long trying to be the perfect husband that I forgot to be myself. That changed. I also took some time to reflect on what I want in a relationship going forward. Honesty, respect, and loyalty aren't just buzzwords. They're the foundation. And I'm done settling for less. Sure, the scars are still there. Some days, they sting worse than others. But I'm learning to wear them as reminders of what I survived, and what I won't tolerate again. I'm not sure what the next chapter holds. But for the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely excited to find out. If you've read this far, thanks for sticking with me. This whole experience has been a brutal roller coaster, but I've learned a few things I want to share, especially for anyone out there who might be going through something similar. First, trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. I did for months and it only made things worse. Second, collect evidence if you suspect cheating, not because you want to destroy your relationship, but so you don't lose your mind wondering what's real. Third, don't let anyone gaslight you. If your partner twists the truth or makes you question your sanity, that's a huge red flag. Fourth, it's okay to ask for help. Therapy, friends, family, lean on them. Fifth, remember, betrayal isn't about you being not enough. It's about the other person's choices. You deserve respect and honesty. Lastly, healing takes time. There's no magic fix. Some days will be harder than others. That's normal. For me, the hardest part was accepting that the person I loved wasn't who I thought she was. And that sometimes love isn't enough. But I'm hopeful. Because I believe that out of the ashes, you can rebuild something stronger. To anyone going through this, you're not alone. And you will get through it. Stay strong. Looking back, I realized this experience changed me, whether I wanted it to or not. I lost someone I thought was my soulmate, but I found myself in the process. I learned that sometimes the people we love don't deserve our love back. That pain and betrayal can teach us more about our own strength than any success ever could. I also learned the importance of boundaries, not just with others, but with ourselves. I don't have all the answers yet. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of that relationship. But one thing's for sure, I won't settle for lies and betrayal ever again. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Value yourself. Protect your heart. And don't be afraid to walk away when the love you're given isn't real. It's scary. It's lonely. But it's also freeing. I'm still healing, still rebuilding. But I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. Thanks for listening. So here I am, closing this chapter for good. It wasn't the ending I imagined. But sometimes life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need. I'm choosing to see this as a new beginning. A chance to rebuild, redefine, and rediscover myself. If there's one last thing I want to say to anyone going through the same pain, hold on. Hold on to your dignity, your worth, and your hope. Because better days are ahead. And someday, you'll look back and thank yourself for having the courage to let go. Thanks for reading my story. Stay strong out there.